That's my baby girl right there. Ooh, she with her friends. I'm a dog, I ain't shit. I'ma wind up hitting her friends. Bad guy, outlaw. Ooh, I'm like Pac, but I ain't die after the second time I got shot.
What's good? This is your boy Tico Tren, and I'm doing a double hitter on both channels because I missed a day yesterday, and I'm terribly sorry about that. And I'm trying to do this every day, despite the fact that my work schedule and my daily schedule is actually getting kind of hectic with all these with the businesses and stuff like that. So I am trying to actually do this every day. So I'm making up for not doing yesterday. Oh, I did one yesterday for the last night, and I'm doing this one basically to make up for all that stuff basically for yesterday and today for all intents and purposes. So I'm doing two today. Today's video is going to be women's bad decisions, and this is going to be part one to this basically, because there's going to be multiple videos to this series basically, and this one's going to focus on relationships and shit like that. So this one's going to focus on relationships and the stuff that women do and get themselves into for all intents and purposes, and then want to try to act like they're finding themselves or pretend like they're not ready to get back into another relationship and stuff like that. I'm basically going to break down the language behind it for all intents and purposes and stuff like that, because I was actually talking to a woman about this shit the other day, and I was helping her earn out her problems because she paid me too, so she had no choice. I had no choice but to actually help her earn out her problems. So the thing that I've noticed with women is they'll say stuff like, "I'm not ready to be in a relationship," or that how they aren't the problem in relationships, and it's always the men that are the problem in a relationship, even though they're the common denominator in every single last one of their relationships. Apparently all the people that they dated were bad, but they were good. The sad part about that is you can't tell me all these people are bad and you're good when you're still single and lonely and they're in another relationship. Like, and this is something that this is something that women need to tell themselves so they can feel better about themselves. It's sad, but it's true. Like, it's his problem. And like, my favorite quote that women will say was, he was a bad person and he did all this stuff and he was the worst person, and he's the reason why we broke up and this, that, and the other, and he did all this bad stuff, quote unquote, blase, 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 in the famous words of Mr. Forma. They did all this bad stuff basically. So what ends up happening is, if you actually go, oh, and my favorite line that they'll always use, he's still obsessed with me. My favorite thing that I've always noticed about these women is, this nigga done moved on and is in a whole ass relationship with this woman, loving up on this next other woman, and she wants to claim that he's still in love with her. What's up? Thanks. What's up, Young Mabito? So the sad part about a lot of these women who get into situations like this, don't make up every excuse so they can make themselves seem like the better person, or the better person, so they can have a better come out basically. And the sad part about that is, when it comes down to it, when women do this stuff, it basically is basically them relaying a second, not really a second language. It's basically, there's basically a subtitle to all this shit that they're saying basically when it comes down to it. So what she's actually saying is basically, it's all the men's fault. They can never do it. She's never done anything wrong. What that basically means is, I'm a princess. I need to be treated as such. So you should feel sympathy for me. And all the rest of those guys were the reason why we're not in this relationship. Okay, cool. So they're in a relationship and you're not. How are you innocent? Because I have this thing when it comes to me, when it comes to relationships or anything somebody does, is I have this line I always use, and people will laugh at it. There's two motherfuckers in a relationship. There's you, motherfucker, and her, motherfucker. For the relationship to be over, both y'all motherfuckers fucked up, basically, at the end of the day. Whether you like it or not, whether it is what it is, whether you failed the shit test, whether you didn't do everything you needed to do, and you probably fell short just a little bit, you both fucked up in a relationship at the end of the day. For a relationship to end, both of y'all had to fuck up. Her fucked up, you fucked up, y'all both fucked up. Because there's no way in hell that one person can fuck up in a relationship and it be totally one person's fault in a relationship when in fact there's two people in that relationship. So one had to allow shit to happen and look the other way, and the other had to basically either A, not do their job properly in that relationship, and they trying to resolve themselves of all wrongdoing because they didn't do their job properly. The sad part about that is that happens on both sides of the coin. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of women that fuck up relationships and then men go and try to figure out how to salvage it, and they ended up not happening. Or there's a lot of men out there that'll say, well, it came out of nowhere, when in fact it didn't really come out of nowhere as much as you just were living in a blissful world that she would never F you over, basically, because you think that everything is doing good. The sad part about that is women are so agreeable, they're willing to actually make everything look good and spring shit on you at the last minute as they're pulling a parachute and leave you with no parachute, sadly. This is typically how women are. They'll basically jump out the plane with one parachute and leave your ass to fall to the ground and hit the ground and splat, basically. It's pretty much how it works. So women are willing to pull a ripcord whenever they want to because they have they only parachute on a plane and you don't. It's typically how it works. So that's typically women in a nutshell. And the sad part about that, the faster men figure this out, the better off they'll be in a relationship, because at the end of the day, this lovely, cute creature that was giving you all the love and attention and affection has a very animalistic underbelly that will pretty much eat you alive. Think of it like this. If a woman can abort a baby, what do you think she can do to your relationship? Let's just keep it 100. If she's willing to abort a baby, what do you think she'll do to your relationship? Your relationship ain't shit. It's not a clump of cells. It can be aborted, just like a baby, basically. Because women basically want shit to be easy. They never want to have to work towards anything because they're told that everything is supposed to come naturally and perfectly. So therefore, they don't have to work towards a relationship. The relationship should already be there for them, or everything should be perfect for them. Like, I don't have to be in a relationship and help a man get the bag. I just want to be there when the bag is actually gotten. You see what I'm saying? That's typically how women work. They don't want to work towards anything. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some women that do work towards it and will stick by a man if they have this notion that he's going to make it and be something big. Yeah, there's dumb women, but those women are few and far between. However, most women are only there when they see the bag being gotten, basically. Now all of a sudden they got to get there because the bag is gotten. Not too many women are willing to actually, ride with a man until the bag is gotten or help the man build. They want to be there to spend all the money or spend all the shit or enjoy all the shit that the man actually gotten. That's typically how this stuff works. This is why divorce is a money-making business, basically, for women and lawyers, because it's all about grabbing that bag or securing that bag for women, whereas there's no such thing as love. Well, yeah, let me rephrase that. There is love. They love that bag that you got that you're about to kick over to them when you catch this divorce case, basically. Typically how it works. And that's how it's always been. Especially when it comes to no-fault divorces. As soon as no-fault divorces actually came into play, shit like this was happening on a regular basis. And women were absolved of all wrongdoing. Good example of that is all the women who were married to men who went off to work and came back home, and these men raised children and come to find out later during these 21andMe tests and all this shit that the child is not even theirs. Your wife done banged the milkman, the paper boy, the mailman, everybody else, the iceman, whoever you want, the refrigeration man. She done banged everybody in the neighborhood and it belongs to that person, and you done raised a child that never even belonged to you, but she doesn't have to take responsibility for that. It's typically how it works. Because the sad part about that, like I explained to men, even in the 1950s and 40s, women never had to take responsibility for anything that they've ever done. Like I said, if a woman goes to the store and she breaks something, she doesn't have to pay for it. Her husband had to pay for it. You see what I'm saying? So she broke something at the store. Her husband, the store owner, would literally wait for her husband to come home to charge him that bill at the end of the day for that thing that was broken. She never had to face any damn thing. Her husband had to face all that shit. And we always talk about in America how the 1950s and 40s was, when in fact the man still had to take responsibility for his wife. And the sad part about that is, after a while, when you start getting the 23andMe tests and shit like that, and all these DNA tests, you find out the child's not yours. So she definitely still doesn't have to take in responsibility for any of the shit that she does. And these are the very decisions that women make that makes it so it's hard to actually want to ride with a woman. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of men that'll simp out for women and ride with them 100%. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where you can't do that. And you eventually have to make it so that it's not right. And you basically have to be able to hold them accountable. This is typically why I hold women accountable. And a lot of the women that want to date me or want to try to date me are mad at me because I hold them accountable. I have women that want to date me, but they're mad at me and they don't want to date me no more because I hold them accountable, and all the rest of these niggas will let them slide on the bullshit that they do. I have a friend right now that I'm holding accountable, and she's mad at me, and she only wants to text me whenever she feels as though she's not going to be held accountable by some shit, and she always gets held accountable no matter what. And it is what it is. It's one of those things where they never want to be held accountable. They just want you to ride with them ride on their bullshit 100%. At the end of the day. And the sad part about that is you can't ride with a woman 100% without doing any fact checking. Like I said, this woman was talking about how her exes are obsessed with her, but these niggas is in whole ass relationships having babies with other women, but they're obsessed with her. They're obsessed with her. Now, what that actually means is she's projecting that fact that they've moved on and she hasn't found anybody. That's all it's really projecting. She moved on, she hasn't found anybody. I mean, they moved on and she hasn't found anybody. So now she's projecting her insecurities because they moved on and she didn't. They're in whole ass relationships, having whole ass families, and she's not. They're happy and smiling for at this moment in time, and she's not. That's basically how it works. So basically, when you hear a woman say that they're I mean, don't get me wrong, one out of a million times, there's going to be that one guy that's obsessed with her, yeah. But most of the times, not every single guy is obsessed with all women, basically. And 9 times out of 10, she's still obsessed with that person. That's basically what that means. That's basically what that translates to. Unless you see the nigga stalking around you and fucking with you while you're trying to date this woman, she's still obsessed with that person at the end of the day. And even if she says that, she's still obsessed with that person even still. Even if the person's still stalking her, she's still obsessed with that person too. Because at the end of the day, there's everything that she could have put in place to prevent this person from doing what they're doing, but she didn't. Therefore, that's a decision. That's another decision that she makes. That's a poor decision. Thanks. Thank you very much. And see ya. But the sad part about that is, at the end of the day, these are the various decisions that women make. Then they try to pass off as okay. Another thing that women will say is, I'm not ready for a relationship. So when you got into the bed with that guy last night, you weren't ready for a relationship, and you're blowing up his phone on a regular basis, but you're not ready for a relationship. What that actually means is she doesn't either she doesn't like the options that she's being dealt right now, or B, she wants to benefit from the situation that she's in at this moment in time by not picking a certain person. Basically, that's exactly what that means. She wants to benefit from all the attention that she's getting, and this is the reason why she's quote unquote not ready to be in a relationship. So 9 times out of 10, if you're dealing with a woman that's not ready to be in a relationship, or hasn't quite made her decision, or hasn't quite found herself, she's basically benefiting from a bunch of men giving her attention. That's basically all it really is. That's all it would ever be. And that's pretty much what it translates to. There's a bunch of men giving her attention so she can feel loved and cherished and wanted, because 9 times out of 10, she's probably hit a certain age and she's not being checked for as much as humanly possible. So she's trying to milk as much attention out of all these men as humanly possible until all of them basically starts bouncing. Another good example of that is, I have a friend that I basically stopped being her friend, and she literally said, I want to be your friend if I can't be anything else with you. If nothing else, I want to be your friend. Why do you want to be my friend? And the sad part about that, for a woman to say that she wants to be your friend if she can't have anything else with you, there has to be a reasoning behind it. Either A, she's gaining something from you that you didn't see in hindsight, or you didn't really catch her gaining from you, basically. Let it be your time, attention, your emotional support, anything like that. finances, anything like that. And if you rule out finances and you rule out emotional support and you rule out some other things, 9 times out of 10, she's probably gaining something from you that you didn't even really think of, that you didn't see, that you didn't have in foresight basically at the time. And it could be anything else. It could be something minute as small as, attention, basically, or the fact that you just showed up you know, to do something or in her vicinity, basically. You basically gave her attention of some sort or gave her some type of validation, despite the fact that you're really not giving her validation. The fact that you showed up validated her to a certain extent and gives her validation at the end of the day. And it is what it is. It's basically like a good example that I know two bartenders who literally the one will pick a fight with the other one about her getting more attention than the other one. This is typically the nature of women. If one bartender gets attention, the other bartender would pick a fight about it and say this, that, and the other about it. And the sad part about that is the one bartender would complain to me about it because she wants attention. But the sad part about that is she wants attention just as much as that other bartender is getting attention, but she tries to play it off as she don't want attention, when in fact she wants all the love and attention in the world, because she's actually literally admitted to me that she likes feeling special. So if you like feeling special, that means you like attention. And if you like attention, that means you're pretty much just like all other women out there, and you're no different than all other women. You're just trying to repackage yourself a bit differently in a different package and try to rename yourself something else when you're really the same old, basically. That's all it really is, and that's all it would ever be. So never fall for women who say shit like that. Like, I'm not like all the typical women, when in fact, just because you don't wear a dress or some boots or some heels, that don't make you not like all your typical women. That just makes you a woman that just doesn't wear a dress and boots. That's all it is. You just wear jeans, which basically makes you about as fake as the rest of them, for the fact that fake as a woman wearing heels because you're not that tall and you're basically making your butt look a certain way with some heels and your calves look a certain way with some heels. The only thing different is you're making your butt look a certain way with those jeans, because we all know when we take them jeans off, your ass is not going to look like that. Let's just keep it 100. So basically, you're selling us a false lie just as much as everybody else out there selling us a false lie. You wearing jeans doesn't change the fact that your body's not shaped like that. Because the sad part about that, when it comes to women's jeans, they got jeans that will shape the woman's butt so it can look like it's juicy. They got jeans that will lift a woman's butt so it can look like it's not saggy. They got jeans that will smooth out a woman's waist in stomach so she can look like she's skinny or smaller, or she has an hourglass figure. And the sad part about that, there's jeans that do all the above. Sadly, that'll shape her butt and make it look like it's nice, and then smooth out her hips and waist so she can look like she's has an hourglass figure. It is what it is. That's basically how women's stuff works. What's up, Yam? But the sad part about that is, at the end of the day, you can't sit up here and make up shit and make bad decisions. Lastly, before I go, another bad decision that women make on a regular basis and they try to pass off is they'll say, well, how do I want to word this? They'll say something like, well, yeah, I can give good relationship advice, or I can give this, when in fact you're not even in a successful relationship. And I'll ask them, so if you're okay, so how long have you been in a relationship? Oh, 15 years. Okay, that sounds reasonable. 15 years. Are you still in a relationship? No? Okay. Did that relationship happen to be a consecutive relationship where you were together, or was it an on again, off again relationship? On again, off again? Well, what's up, Len? Well, you haven't really been in a relationship. You've been in an dysfunctional relationship, so you can't give relationship advice about relationships, when in fact you can't even be in a committed relationship without taking a break and coming back together again for some odd, crazy reason, which means you were in a dysfunctional relationship, therefore meaning that you were never in a successful relationship if you have to keep on taking these breaks, basically. That's basically how it works. You can't tell me you're in a successful relationship when in fact you were in a fucked up relationship in the beginning, which means that you make poor decisions. Or they'll say that I make great decisions when it comes to relationships. Are you still in a relationship? No. Then you make poor decisions when it comes to relationships. Or they'll try to spin it in a way where to make themselves seem as if, that They make great decisions in relationships when in fact the relationship they're in is a dead end relationship, or the person doesn't give two shits about them. They'll go, well, I make great decisions. The guy I'm talking to currently is a great guy. Okay, are y'all together? No. Are y'all dating? No. Is there a prospect of marriage? No. Did he say I love you? No. Well, it's not a successful relationship. You're basically dealing with somebody who just wants to smash and dash, or somebody that just wants you around for some pussy, basically, at the end of the day. So there's always that. And the sad part about that, you can't sit up here and say because a person wants you for just pussy or sex or mouth or head or Becky or whatever you want to call it, you can't sit up here and say that you're in a successful relationship when in fact you're really not. You're just basically a piece of ass that a person just want to bust a nut on. That's all it really is. Or a pair of titties that somebody want to bust a nut on. Or or a throat that somebody want to bust a nut down. That's all you really are. That's not a successful relationship. It'll never be a successful relationship. You're just being used. Just like you use men, you're being used. And the sad part about that is women will say they don't use men when in fact they use men quite often. They use men for attention, finances, for any attention, finances, and emotional support, basically, at the end of the day. So you can't sit up here and say you don't use men, but you lean on men to make you feel better about yourself. Or you lean on men so you can feel special. It is what it is. You can't be mad at a man that's using you for sex when in fact you use men the same damn way to make yourself feel better about yourself. If a man tells you you're beautiful, you want to roll your eyes at him and tell him don't talk to me or stupid shit like that, or call him up for like some type of charges, basically. But deep down inside, you actually love that attention from all these simp motherfuckers, because if they weren't around, you wouldn't be shit without these simps. Women need simps. Women need simps like we all need water or oxygen. Women need simps so they can survive. Because the sad part about that, a woman's very existence revolves around simps and cucks and people willing to go to bat for them no matter what the stupid shit that they do. If it wasn't for simps, women wouldn't be alive. Women wouldn't be able to do OnlyFans. Women wouldn't be able to be Twitch dots. Women wouldn't be able to pull off the thottery that they're doing now if it wasn't for simps. Women wouldn't make the money that they did if it wasn't for simps at the end of the day. So women need simps like we all need oxygen. Without them, they wouldn't feel special. They wouldn't feel pretty. They wouldn't feel sexy. They wouldn't feel like they're balling. They wouldn't feel like they're on top of the world without them if a bunch of men were rolling around like me. Like, they would basically be a bunch of assholes at that point in time. Like, you're an asshole, Tico. Yeah, I know. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment, Pimpin'. Now I'm going to keep it moving over here, and I'm going to go hurt somebody else's feelings because I'm feeling good today. Thanks for the compliment. That was my hammerhand voice if you hadn't noticed that transition. Thanks for the compliment. But yeah, at the end of the day, you have to basically be able to notice this as a man and not fall for the wording that women do to trick you into believing them wholeheartedly at the end of the day. It is what it is. They'll basically use certain wording to fit them, to fit their narrative, to actually make them a better person or make them seem a better person, so you won't be looking at them negatively. They do that all the time. It's sad, but it's true. But I'll check y'all cats out in the next one, number 2 to this. There will be a number 2, and I'm sorry that I didn't post yesterday. And I basically made this video so I can actually do 2 posts to make up for yesterday, basically. But y'all have a blessed day and be good to yourselves, gentlemen.
Try me if you want, nigga. Try me. Come on and try me if you want, nigga. Yeah. Try me if you want, nigga.
Oh yeah, I gotta change it over to this real quick. This outro.